Hey guys, so we're starting to set up our outside display and, well, our power tripped out. Turns out the reason for that, turn some light on here, this old school receptacle, not even on the side of the building we were putting the power into, but apparently when it rained, some water got into this and tripped out our GFCI. So we're going to be switching out the cover to one of these in-use Code Keeper dry boxes, because obviously, I mean, the thing's metal, which it's electrical, it's metal, it's outdoors, it's wet. That's just stupid. So these are plastic, of course, and B, it's shot. There's no more water resistance to this thing at all. So of course, have an electrician switch your outlets, but switching the cover plate, that's not so bad. Still have to recommend an electrician do it, but it's definitely worthwhile for any outdoor application like this to know your power's safe and secure. Here we are with the cover off, and you can see how actually bad it was inside of there. A lot of dirt buildup, grime, and just straight up rust on the wires and the terminals. So what this was doing, it was actually tripping a common ground fault current isolator GFCI breaker between all the outdoor outlets. There's only a couple of those, but this one was tripping the outlet we were actually trying to use. Here you can clearly see how bad off this actually was. The terminals were totally corroded, and that's just from water exposure. Now, before doing any of this work, I confirmed the breakers were off, and before even taking it apart, I used my voltage meter to confirm that there was no power across any of this. And I was just double confirm that before I go any further, because you never know. There could be, these readers aren't perfect, sometimes they miss things, but I'm definitely not getting anything. Especially when you do the voltage test with something like this that's non-contact, before you take it out, it's entirely possible if one of these leads has come loose, you're not going to get voltage out here because there's nothing traveling through it if there's a bad connection. But I do see everything's connected well and the wires are totally de-energized. Alright, so we have our outlet back together. I can't go too in-depth on that just for liability concerns, but there's plenty of electrician YouTube channels out there. Now we have our box here. And you notice there's a lot of stuff that comes inside of these. There's plate covers for switches, for single outlets, for dual outlets, your screws, your pin that holds on the top, because usually the top can open vertically or horizontally, horizontal in our case. And just read the manual. But these are pretty nice little boxes, and they tend to do everything you need. You can get them Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, somewhere between $7 and $15 per box. Alright, so our box is mounted. Set to open this direction. That's a knockout on the bottom or the side. I use the bottom knockout so that way if there is rain it can drain out. That way I can put a cord in while in use, close the lid, and it's still waterproof. Now, since I live at the Jersey Shore where sometimes it rains for a week at a time sideways, I don't just trust the weather seal gasket here. I use Lexel. This stuff is ridiculous. It's not at every hardware store. True Value stores usually have it. Amazon has it. Sticks to wet surfaces. It's clear, it dries clear, it stays pretty clear. And long story short, this stuff is a pain to get off, but it really does a great job. Back when I worked for a camera company installing cameras on the boardwalk, literally 50 foot from the beach, this stuff is all we used and it does fantastic. So we'll get that sealed up. Alright, so we gooped up the top and the sides really well with that Lexel. The bottom is still open, that way any moisture that does somehow find its way in can drain out the bottom. And this thing should be good to go for years. The last one I did 5 years running and it's still perfectly watertight. So that is how I recommend if you're going to have outdoor power at your show, use these things. It's safe. It's actually, I think the brand name of this is Code Keeper. Just to make it clear how much these things make a difference and it's safer, and your fire marshals, electrical inspectors, so on and so forth, they're going to love it if they see stuff like this because they know you're doing it right and doing your best. Not to mention one other little side benefit to these. Once you plug your cord in and it loops out the bottom, you've got a little bend in there. It makes it much harder for someone to pull a cord out by accident or pull a cord loose, which can cause a short, so on and so forth. So these things are great, they're safe, and they're cheap.